Good evening, everyone. We are back with Slay the Spire. I say we. It's just me tonight. That's why I'm being let loose on a game that I've already played here on the Pillbug stream. And I had a blast with Slay the Spire. Some of you who watched the original stream will remember how I just really got into it. I think it was the first time I'd streamed past the hallowed 10 p.m. Time slot, staying up way past my bedtime on a Tuesday to play the game. So I had a blast. I enjoyed it so much that I haven't touched it once on PC, but I went out and immediately picked it up on Switch. I think I said that night that I would play the hell out of this game if it was on Switch, and lo and behold, it is. So I went out and bought it on Switch and haven't stopped playing it on that format since. In between playing other games like Hearthstone and also Stellaris for the stream. So I'm going to play a bit more Slay the Spire now. I'd like to think I've got a little bit more experience with the game, and I am doing a little bit better at playing it. But we shall see. There's a lot of different levels and different things to unlock in this game, and I don't want to spoil any of that for those of you who don't know, who haven't seen it for yourself. So I'm going to just jump in and play some, and if we get to some of the unlockables later, then that'll be exciting. But I'm not going to try and spoil too much as we go through and start playing. So do bear with me as I'm streaming on my Todd, but do shout out in chat. I will be monitoring chat. The good thing about this game is that I can kind of stop playing. It's all turn-based and just engage with chat. So say hi and shout out anything you want me to do, any strategies you see that you feel I should be trying, etc, etc. Otherwise, we're just going to jump right on in. I'm going to do some standard stuff. The daily climb's really interesting. I haven't really got to the point in playing the game, even though I'm playing quite a lot, where I've really felt the need to do that. But there we are. So I'm going to choose the defect. I didn't play any of the defect in the first time we played on stream. I think I'd only just unlocked him. I played a fair bit of him on Switch. I'm assuming there's almost no difference. So I think he's one of the more interesting of the three characters. I mean, so the Ironclad is kind of like the basic straightforward warrior, but I still love a ton of the different strategies that you can play with the Ironclad, so we will probably come back to him. I've played the most of the Silent over on Switch, so I'm probably not going to play very much Silent tonight. I think he's loads of fun, loads of cool, loads of really interesting decks with him, but I've played a ton of Silent, and I think actually the defect is I'm going to start out with the defect. He's kind of the strangest build, if you like. I think he was the latest character to be added in development for Slay the Spire, from what I've seen of the development the development chat and the devs talking. So I think he's really, really interesting, and we'll get into his mechanics as soon as we actually start on our run. So I kind of this is kind of an interesting first decision. A lot of the times, back when I was streaming this for the first time, I had no real idea, and I think it's in one of those situations with Slay the Spire, as with many games, is the more you know, the more you realise you don't know. I mean, I think that's kind of a truism in life anyway. And I know you come to the Pillbug stream for life lessons. So I felt very initially like this first choice here would be rubbish, and that those first early combats are actually so easy. Like, why would you ever try and make them any easier? But actually, the max HP, I mean, your HP resets every act, of which there are 3, so that can be very useful. If you have certain builds, having a higher max HP also is actually very advantageous. But I've found that this gives you such an accelerated kind of kickstart in Act 1 that it's actually a much bigger benefit than it initially looks. So we're gonna kick off with that. There might be some pro strats that say how ridiculous that is, but I actually kind of like this, because what it means is I can beat a bunch of enemies, or go up maybe this route, a bunch of enemies, and get to that first elite without having any major trouble. And that can be a very strong starting position. I don't have a lot of gold, so I didn't get an option to choose extra gold, so I'm not going to aim for this early merchant. Just something you can do if you pick an early early gold option. But if I go down this route, I get 2 question marks of rest and the elite after 3. So I'm going to choose that one. So for those of you who don't know about the defect, you get these orb slots. There's 3 of them. You start with 3 and you start with 1 lightning in the passive. So at the end of your turn, it deals 3 damage to a random enemy, as it says here. And whenever you evoke it, it deals 8 damage to a random enemy. So evoking it is basically when you push this out of that last slot, either by a card effect like this one, evoke your next orb twice, or if you fill up these all your orb slots and then channel another orb. So already you're starting to see that this character is way different from the other 2, very much mechanically different. Whereas the Silent and the Ironclad, they've got different cards, they've got different strategies, but mechanically they're not that different. Like the defect is very much different. So we can kill this guy in so many ways because we've got him down to 1 HP. So I'm just going to do it nice and easy. Let's get on with it. Gold. Anything interesting to start with? So there's a whole power deck with the defect, which is quite fun. And certainly can be strong enough to take you through the whole 3 acts. I quite like the stack, or at least I did initially. It's one of those cards that kind of scales quite well, but is very situational. As your deck gets bigger, as you cycle through more cards, etc., the stack can be very strong. But I have found it a little too situational for my liking. And Sweeping Beam is strong in the corridors, but not so hot against the bosses. So I'm going to take Hello World early, and I think kind of picking powers early is no bad thing. So yeah, again, I'm not even going to show you too much about what we've got going on here. I'm just going to get through these early 3 because I've chosen the 3 easy fights to start with. So this is kind of an interesting choice. I can pick up another Hello World here. It's easy perhaps to get over focused on these early picks. There are some really strong relics and really strong later cards that will actually kind of push your deck into different directions a little bit more. Consume is actually a card I've been playing with a little bit more with my defects on Switch. You lose an orb slot, which sounds like it would be a negative thing, but can actually be quite a positive thing because it means you'll cycle through your orbs a little bit more quickly. And gaining 2 focus is really strong. So focus means the kind of base stats for all your different kinds of orbs are increased by 2. And then I've got a Channel Frost, so as well as dealing 6 damage attack. Cold Snap. I quite like Cold Snap. Channeling Frost is they're orbs that produce block. So at the end of the turn, you gain 2 block. So that can be very strong too. I'm not that fussed about another Hello World, even if I am doing a more power-centric deck. This isn't the power that I want a ton of. It's strong, it's good early on, but I'm going to try Consume. I quite like this. Let's see how it goes. Not sure if it's ideal with the power cards, but we'll see. Okay, we're still on our 1 toughness, so we're going to push through. What do we got here? Okay, another power which gains us orb slots. This is kind of interesting, obviously, with the focus, which reduces your orb slots. But I think I kind of like it. I'm going to see if that works out. Okay. Right, so this is the first real fight of our run here. I'm going to defend because 10 damage is a bit obnoxious. I don't want to dual cast just yet, so it's quite easy. The shortcut key. And again. E. Okay, and I'm going to do that so I don't have to keep going over that. Interesting turn. I think I want to consume against one doing 10 damage. The problem with thieves is if you let them leave, they take all your money. So you really need to make sure you're doing as much damage as you can, as quickly as you can. We've already done a bit of damage. I think if I consume and zap, I do 10 damage at the end of the turn, which helps a lot. So I think that's what I'm going to. I didn't take consume not to gain that focus. So it means we take a bit of damage here, but I'm hoping that means I'll just be able to. I was kind of going to suggest I hope I get to. Just do a ton of damage here and kill him before he gets that block up, but as it is, I don't think we are going to. So if I consume, I think that should channel that. Doesn't channel that. Learnings with Dave. If you consume an orb, it does not channel it. That's worth knowing. So he's going to get his block up. We only have to do 12 when you're doing kind of 7 at the end of the turn. It's not too difficult, and we're just going to go ahead and channel this. That would have been the quickest way of doing it. He's dead. We get our gold back. We lost 10 HP, which was a bit of a sting. But we've got another great power here. So start of your turn, draw additional card. That with Hello World, you're kind of gaining loads and loads of extra cards in your turn. So what we now need to be just aware of is what those cards are actually doing for us. So I want to make sure we're picking up some good powers and also some good things to be doing with those powers. Okay, so pretty sweet random event here. We can either remove a card, we can transform a card, or upgrade one. I'm not a massive fan of transforming. It's random. It's kind of fine early on if you don't have a plan, but I do. I've already got powers in there which are quite good. So I can remove a card, which would probably be removing either a strike or a block. But the problem is I've added, as you can see, quite a lot of cards that just don't really do anything. Like that's the danger of powers. They're very strong, but they don't actually do anything kind of on the turn you cast them, or at least a lot of them don't. So if I start to remove a defend or a strike, my deck could kind of start grinding to a halt and not really do much. Dual cast is interesting. Whether or not I actually want to remove that in this deck, it's not a bad card when you keep channeling lightning with zap and stuff, but it's this early on it's not doing me exciting, so I could see getting rid of that. I also quite like upgrading stuff, so machine learning upgrades to innate, so that's always in your hand at the start of a fight, so that's really strong. This gives you more orbs. This will give me more focus for each orb slot. So that could be very, very powerful, upgrading that. And Hello World, again, is also innate. I'm kind of tempted with either Consume or Machine Learning. It depends how heavy we're going to go on Consume. And I'm still not as kind of highly convinced about Consume. So we're going to upgrade Machine Learning, because more cards is good. And I can rest, but I'm not looking too bad, so I'm actually going to upgrade, and we're going to do the other upgrade. Okay, so I want to take on the Elite because the Elite dropped Relic. And I think we're in a pretty good spot to do that now. So this is interesting. This guy lets me actually get set up really well, so we're going to go ahead and do that. Card each turn, we're going to leave the orb slot, and we are going. So we can definitely wake him up this turn, which I think we probably want to do. There's kind of no necessarily any reason not to kind of get on with it. We've got our setup of drawing an extra card, and we've got some focus as well. There's our capacitor for our extra orb slots. He is going to hit us like a truck, and we don't have a lot of block up, so I'm just going to defend again, and hope that channeling's going to do enough damage. Excuse me. I'm going to have a sneezing fit. Okay, so he's still hitting for 18, which is quite a lot of damage. So if we're going to defend with at least one of them, I quite like the idea of Hello Worlding. Give me an extra random card, which should give us a chance for more blocks as well. And then channeling an extra lightning, which is just going to keep racking up those damage, which is great. So we are taking a ton of damage at the moment, but okay, gave us Streamline. So these common cards that Hello World kind of gives you at the start of turn, they stay in your deck just for the fight. So they're kind of interesting. You will see them potentially more and more over longer fights, which can be a good and bad thing. Like, I could totally understand people not liking Hello World because of that. I think we're going to consume. Get rid of that orb slot. Is that enough damage? It's 2. 11. And then, yeah, that's more than enough damage. So we're going to consume these guys. And we're going to claw this for free. And actually channel another lightning, which do more than enough damage. Okay, so what we got? Pantograph at the start of buff combats heal 25 HP. That's a pretty sweet relic. So we got Claw. I quite like Claw. Increases damage for all Claw cards by 2 this combat. So I think there's a whole Claw strategy with the defect, which is really, really powerful because it's free stuff that increases in its power over time. So it definitely encourages you to play lots of Claws and all at the same time. I don't know if I'm really playing a Claw deck because of these powers and the interest in consume and kind of focusing. So I'm actually going to get a Cold Snap so that I can actually channel some. How do we feel about my health? At the moment, what's the map looking like? We're going to have to face at least one elite before we get to another rest. So I'm going to take the rest option here. It's probably being a bit conservative, but I think it will stand us in good stead. Box. Okay, raising my max to the world. Right, so how are we feeling about going merchant? I think it might be worth just taking a look-ski-poo. Let's have a look, see what they've got. 187 gold is not a lot. So, right, for instance, I could buy Mayhem, which I do like. In terms of relics, I always kind of like checking out the relics. They are very strong. 3 Thorns is not the worst. I really like Unceasing Top for certain decks. It's very, very powerful. And then whenever you play... I mean, removing the debuffs is great and all, but playing all 3 of those in the same turn, it can be a real challenge. You have to really build your deck with that in mind. I'm also always interested in what's on sale. Who doesn't like a bargain? You have 10 damage to all enemies channel and dark orbs we haven't seen yet. They're kind of interesting. They're like finishers. But 10 damage to all enemies is no bad thing for the corridors, but 2 energy at the cost until you're starting getting more energy. I'm not a massive fan of that. I love Mayhem in almost all decks. It's just a free card. Sometimes it can be useless, like an attack when they've got block up, or a block when they're not attacking. But it's a power. We're doing the power thing, and it's a very strong one that can maybe offset the kind of tempo loss of playing a 2-mana do-nothing card. Just over the course of the game, I think it's a very strong setup card. We'll see. So like this instance, I could take 6 damage to really get properly set up with my powers. So I'm just going to be playing a ton and drawing a ton of extra cards, which I quite like. I didn't have any block anyway. That's something I think it's always worth keeping an eye on with power-based decks, is like how much block are you being able to generate at various times. If you miss a few attacks, it's not the end of the world, but not being able to block when you want to is obviously a problem. So let's Cold Snap here, get rid of that. So when she curls up, so the block we won't have to deal with. And also it means I can defend a bunch as well. We're missing out on Hello World, but we're getting so much extra card value from our Mayhem and our other powers that I'm not too sad about that. We're just taking 3 damage in the end of the. So this is our first time we got a frost orb up here. See, already coming in handy. Although I think we're probably just going to go ahead and kill Louise. Goodbye, Louise. And then this guy's going to add strength to the game, but we're already channeling some more damage here, and I think I'm going to channel the lightning as well. Just so that we're properly set up when this guy grows. He's only got 13 HP, so it's going to be quite quick to kill anyway, but you're kind of starting to see how the power deck just really ramps up and deals with stuff. Right, I do like the idea of ball lightning because we're channeling a lot of damage through here, which would be very strong, but I'm also kind of tempted with leap. A bit vanilla, but I'm just aware I've added a ton of cards to my deck that don't really either hit people or produce a lot of block, so I think we have to be aware of that. This would be the more aggressive take, and it kind of channels more, which is much better with our. I think I'm going to take it. It's much better with our core idea of focusing up. This boss, I like this boss actually, for this kind of deck especially, because we can go ahead and play our powers. And we know, so what they do, they're very predictable. They will either debuff us with adding 2 rubbish cards to our deck that go at the end of the turn, or they'll deal us 9 damage. It's flat damage, very little change. They all have this artifact which stops you debuffing them once, but our deck doesn't really do that, so it's not a problem. So like this time I didn't draw any block, but that's okay because I'm only taking 9 damage, so we can just get set up a little bit here with our powers and channel an extra one. So I like to always kind of pick off one of the double acts, as you can see, either the first or third enemy, so that there's not turns when I'm going to be hit for 18. There's only turns I'm ever going to be hit for 9 once you've finished off the first one. It's a bit harder with the random lightning effects, so you just never know quite how that's going to pan out. I can also drink a potion for dexterity, which, seeing as I'm about to get hit for 18, I might do here. So that, and I'm probably not going to play Mayhem until I've managed to deal with at least one of these guys. So I'm going to gain dexterity, adds to the amount that you gain block by, so that will get us up to 14 block, which really takes the sting out of all of this, especially when I cold snap and gain a frost orb. So that means we reduce the amount of damage we're taking on when the 2 guys are attacking us, and that means next time we won't be being attacked for quite as much. This boss fight has a very clear rhythm to it, and I think it's a really good kind of teaching fight for that. So I could go ahead and consume. It's not a bad turn to consume. Don't think we can kill this guy guaranteed. That's 12. These would be too random. So I'm going to go ahead and consume, and that will add 4. So we take 4. Taking the block would be a bit overkill here. Hello World would be fine, but I'm not feeling like we're running out of things to do thanks to our drawing an extra card a turn. So I'm going to make sure that we stand a good shot at killing this guy next turn without having to work too hard at it. Especially seeing as both of our orb shots actually miss. Which means we take 4 extra damage this turn, but it's not the end of the world. So we draw 3 days, which is a bit of a shame, but we should be able to kill this guy, and now we're taking 9 less damage next turn, and I'll be able to block with both of those now as well. So that's pretty sweet. Pushing up the damage, and I've got the spare, so I might as well channel another lightning. So like a bit like there are some silent decks that kind of operate this way, but I've definitely found it with the defect where you kind of build a rig and just kind of let that do a lot of the heavy lifting. So we're going to go ahead and try and get, well, we're getting enough block anyway, so we're going to go ahead and kill this guy. Throw up the block because there's no reason not to. And this one's obviously very much in the bag. Strike this guy down and then my turn. So far so good on the focus. Every time you play through 3 attacks, that's obviously a strong relic, which is going to really, if we get this early enough, it kind of really encourages the claw deck I was talking about. I don't know if we're there yet, but it certainly makes me feel better taking those attacks that channel stuff as well. Okay, so we get a pretty good selection of interesting cards. So this is channeling 3 orbs and then exhausts. I mean, that could be very strong in our deck if we're looking at focusing. Overclock is not a terrible card in some decks. The burn that it adds to discard pile can get annoying over a longish fight. Depends if you've got any ways of exhausting it and things like that. It's obviously a 0 cost draw 2. That's strong. And then Thunderstrike, deal 7 damage random to a random enemy for each lightning channel this combat. So that means the game's tracking every time you channel a lightning orb, and this will start to deal some serious damage. I really like Thunderstrike. Rainbow's strong, but I think less exciting than Thunderstrike. I think Thunderstrike gives us a real clear direction with our deck to be channeling as many of these orbs as possible in as higher effect as possible. So I'm going to take the Thunderstrike and be pretty happy with that. I'm going to take the Rest Sight because I think I can then upgrade my Thunderstrike. That does 9 damage. I mean, you're dealing like a lot of damage with this. You don't really need it to be 9 rather than 7. I mean, that could be worth thinking about. But the mana reduction, or the cost reduction, should I say, on Mayhem is really appealing. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Just means it's not quite so punishing setting up a Mayhem. Alright, lots of guys. So we probably do want to set up how I feel about machine learning with this much going on. I definitely can't spend the time consuming. It would be nice to draw at least 1 strike to give us a shot at killing one of these next turn. I'm going to go ahead and play a little defensively, and then we're just going to get machine learning up and going. I could have Gambler's Brood, but I think this fight's going to be quite painful enough to necessitate a potion use. I could be wrong. About to take 5 damage and we're already debuffed. So bit of a pain. But can we kill one of these guys? Potentially 9 damage down this guy, which and then maybe get lucky. I like the idea of defending and killing this guy. Kind of wasted a damage, but not much else we can do about that, unfortunately. We're going to take quite a bit of damage this turn as well. These guys, obviously, like if you've got like AoE effects, like the Beam I said I wasn't a massive fan of earlier. This is where that kind of card comes onto their own. 4 damage for 2 strikes. Don't like the. I can evoke this twice. Kind of like that because it's quite bursty and will give us a good shot at killing 2 guys this turn. So let's try that. So there's 1 dead. We could take that down as well. Sucks not playing Mayhem, but I think this is a bit more of a sprint. I could get lucky, defend, strike this guy down, and have this finish him. Kind of in the realm of being open to being lucky. So let's try that. I've got like a 1 in 3 of this orb hitting the right guy. Womp womp. Okay, so we're going to take 5 damage. We're going to take quite a bit of damage anyway. So we're definitely resting before the boss fight. That's a given at this point. Alright, Cold Snap would have been great earlier. I think it's probably going to be fine now anyway, because we need the block. So let's figure this out. We can do a maximum. Oh, I can evoke this twice. I mean, that's going to do a lot of damage. So let's see. That's probably /100% shouldn't have done that first. Because it wasted the damage on the number 1 guy, so that was dumb. That's 3 HP shouldn't have lost. It's like those little mistakes, they're annoying and they can add up in this kind of certainly in the later runs they can be a real problem. So gaining block early on is kind of nice with a power deck, because you've got this innate card here which is not doing anything too much, and it can be a bit scary not having any block early on with all these power cards. It does exhaust, bit of a shame. Blizzard would be good. It's a good kind of offset. So this is really strong single target damage. And as you've just seen with that fight, sometimes this kind of rig can struggle with multiple enemies, so I'm kind of tempted with Blizzard. I wouldn't want too many more of these effects. I want to be channeling as many orbs, frost and lightning as possible. But I think it's a bit more exciting. I think it's got more upside than the boot sequence. Definitely going to rest ahead of the boss fight. Again, I like to be a bit cautious with that rather than, we've invested all this time in this deck. I don't want it just to kind of be dumped at the first boss because I didn't rest. Yeah, I'm going to kind of pop this poison potion on the boss. If you're not now, then when, right? And we are setting up quite nicely with our rig with those 3 powers. Well, he's going to debuff us, which is annoying. But it's better than him wailing on us. You see then I didn't draw any block cards, so if he'd have done a bunch of damage, that would have been a real problem. He is about to do a bunch of damage. Usually when this boss goes into unknown, I'm pretty sure he means he's going to wail on us pretty hard. So I'm going to go ahead and defend, and drop Hello World, so we get another set of options. I got that wrong. I always get this guy wrong. So yeah, when it's question mark, he's just charging up. Alright, that's frustrating. We missed some damage there. So this is free. Go ahead and do that. Which reduces his damage quite substantially. We're definitely going to have to block a bunch against this. Now, I think we're just going to channel again and pass. Yeah, we missed quite a bit of damage that time round, which is kind of frustrating. There's another boss where I think if it's question mark, he does the damage right away. But our Mayhem's coming out quite nicely here, doing quite a lot of... Don't want to dual cast because it's on block. Always interrupted. Means he's going to split. And at least we get to do some damage with our lightning before he does. So this boss is just like the guys in the corridor who are the same. So you just got to deal with his buds. So this is 7 times 5. It's a pretty sweet amount of damage. With these, it would definitely just finish off, I think, whoever. And we could also... the problem is if this Thunder Strike hits this guy, we're going to take... excuse me, only 4 damage, so it's not the end of the world. I think this looks pretty sweet. Okay, so that's interrupted that guy, so he's not going to be attacking, which is nice. I could maybe try and interrupt this guy, but what I actually want to do is make sure when this guy splits, he splits as small as possible. So we almost killed him, which meant he wouldn't have split whatsoever. Didn't quite get there. But these little guys have only got 4 each, which is totally fine. Especially seeing as I think Blizzard, yeah, Blizzard deals 4 damage to everybody at this point. So we are just cooking on gas. Go ahead and Blizzard these guys down so random channeling doesn't take them. I think we're probably okay just to die. In fact, we hadn't actually killed this boss on PC yet, so that's always good. See, bias cognition's really interesting. Power, obviously, so we're kind of intrigued by that because I want to be building a bit of a power deck with the benefit of focus. But that at the start of your turn, you lose 1 focus. That's a constantly occurring debuff. So it's very good to start with, and then obviously gets worse and worse as the fight goes on. That could be offset quite nicely by obviously being able to cast Consume every now and again, but it means we are really locked into doing that. Amplify is, again, a bit of a strong setup card. It's better when you have more energy than 3 to play with each turn. But can lead to some very strong kind of rig setups, as it were. And then we've already got 1 Thunderstrike. I'm not convinced having multiples would actually be that great. It's very aggressive, but sometimes you do have to just kind of play defensive. Because it takes up all your mana of any given turn or energy. So Blessed Cognition is kind of interesting. I think it goes too heavily against what I want to do with Consume. If I was trying to play for the much shorter fights, then this would probably be great. I think this is great if it's like your only power and you're trying to channel as many like lightning as you want. But I've got quite a few different power cards like Mayhem and Machine Learning, which means my fights are going to go a bit longer. So I'm kind of more tempted with Amplify or Thunderstrike. I don't want a second Thunderstrike just yet, so I'm going to Amplify if that sets up some interesting turns. Relics. Okay, so you can no longer smith at rest sites. That's not the worst downside there. More energy. All enemies start combat with 1 strength. Worse. Busted Crown, gain 1, but you see fewer rewards to choose from. I actually really like Busted Crown because one of my favorite ways of getting cards is the merchant, because you pick specifically what you get. And a lot of the times you don't need to have that many cards added into your deck each time. Kind of keeping a leaner deck, there's a lot to be said for. So I'm actually going to take the Busted Crown. I think the Busted Crown's like better. Obviously, the later you get it, the better it is, because the downside doesn't sting quite so much. But I think it's quite strong even at this point. So there's no merchants early, but merchants available kind of right before the boss there. There's a helpful fire before that elite. We could go kind of ballsy and go double elite there. That's quite a lot of enemies before that first elite. We could go this way and have a bunch of question marks and then go to double elite. I kind of like that. I think that's what we're going to do. Question marks are fine when, as long as you've got a little bit of money to kind of make the most of them. Okay, again. We're at least at 4 energy, so we can do some stuff, but we are distinctly lacking blocks, so we are going to take some damage from these guys. This guy's buffing, so it's always worth taking him down first, because he's going to have the increased strength longer. We're going to do this. We're going to, yeah, I think have to play the long game a little bit. Well, like about, so these guys have like a 50% less attack damage debuff. The lightning passive gets past that. So channeling more damage this way is a really strong play against these guys. So I might go ahead and evoke this. So this guy's doing the most damage. We haven't done any, so the blizzard is completely pointless. Thunderstruck might be kind of good. Definitely want to dual cast. That like deal a ton of damage to these guys. Striking this. The other way of dealing with these guys is dealing 3 damage, 3 attacks. Sorry. Yeah. Dealing 3 damage. Let me start again. Dealing damage to these guys 3 times via attack cards completely shuts them down for a turn. But we haven't really had cards set up to do that. So this is going to deal 3 damage to that. Which means if we get the 1 and 3, we kill it. We could try and deal 7 damage. But it would only be, I think it rounds down to 3, so that's not great. I'm going to go ahead here and hope that this kind of lightning hits there. I'm going to defend, help a little bit out, and we might as well play Hello World. Oh, never lucky. Never lucky. That means we're going to take 10 damage, which is a bit of a bummer off the first encounter on the act, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What can I do? Streamline will definitely take this guy down, so that's something to bear in mind. I don't think we have the luxury of playing Capacitor at the moment. I can make this guy drop from the sky. Is that better? Is that better? And hope to get lucky again. Never lucky. I think we. Streamline this guy down. Drops, and then we take no damage for the turn, which is just Bonzo. So the buff is like annoying early on, but like with this guy as we are right now, it's not really a problem. So yeah, we just can't actually kill him, which is embarrassing. Well, no, we definitely have killed him. Probably more embarrassing that I didn't realise that playing these cards for funsies, and he's dead. So now, because we've got the Busted Crown, we're only getting 1 card to choose from, but actually, amazingly, this is great for our deck. We want to play power cards, and we want to channel lightning, so I probably will be playing as many storm cards as I get. Okay, so machine learning, so we're definitely going to defend, because he's taking a fairly big chunk out of us. Question is, are we consuming or are we zapping and hello worlding? I kind of like the idea of these two. I think that sets us up a little bit better for the longer run against this guy, because he does not like it when you play skill cards. Thank you for that. Capacitor. I think I want to dual cast it. I want to deal as much damage as possible. Channeling an extra lightning is ideal. So we've got a pretty big rig set up here, which means we're going to do a lot of damage. Hopefully get some block up as well, because he does do a bit. Like Mayhem, even though he's giving us a bunch of days, but we don't actually, that's not the end of the world, because we don't have to play that many cards with damage we do through our rig. We're doing like 12 damage a turn just from here, plus playing some bunch of extra cards. This is kind of what this jerk does, is he hexes you, makes you not want to play defensive cards, and then just randomly hits you for a ton. But we can do him for 28 here, plus the 12, not quite enough to kill him. But we don't really have to do anything else. Have a bunch of spends, and then this. He's going to take... we only take 6 here because we had some pretty sweet defense cards, so that's not the end of the world. And then, yeah, we just go ahead and kill him. So that guy can be annoying for a big rig, especially if there's other kind of enemies with him. I'm going to skip this claw. Again, I've said before. Yeah. I do like the claw deck. This isn't that claw deck. 50% chance. I mean, we did, but you can remove these at merchants. So I think getting a chance of a relic. I mean, the potion belt is fine. It's not the best, but get a potion, lose HP, get a colorless card. Whichever option you choose, you lose HP. 90 gold is pretty sweet. Is it better than a colorless card? I think in being able to choose specifically what you get from a merchant. I see. We can do this as many times as we want. Flash. At some point we have to leave. Right. That's a bit of a pain because we've got an elite coming up, so I think I'm just going to leave. Again, might be being a bit of a wuss there, but I only had 37 HP, and I haven't picked up the power that heals this guy yet. I haven't seen one. I would have definitely have taken it. Not the best setup turn. This blizzard doesn't do anything. Other than give you guys at home a nice little graphic. Okay, so we got the next power to play to. Whenever you play a power, channel 1 lightning, so that would let me channel a ton of lightning this turn, which I'm quite tempted by. Except it wouldn't, because I'd have to play these two, and then I would take a ton of damage. So are we amplifying? Hello, are we even amplifying at all? I think we definitely have to double defend. I'm wondering if it's time to Gambler's Brew, because this is a lot of damage. Yeah, I think I kind of do want to Gambler's Brew. These aren't actually helping the problem I've got right now. If I deal with this guy, he gives me 2 vulnerables. There's probably, what is it, vulnerable is 25% extra. Well, he's doing a 1/3 extra anyway, so if I can kill this guy, that's for me. 12, and then maybe hope to get lucky that one of them's going to. Or we evoke twice. Hope at least one hits him, that leaves him 5, and then we can. I think that's probably the best thing. Okay, 1 did hit him, that's good. This. Then we're going to gain a ton of block. So we take 17 off. Well, we're actually going to take less. We're going to take 15 off that. I think that worked out okay, but we got rid of him. That was one of the benefits. I didn't think. So we are defending. Probably going to have to consume as well. That's the only way we actually get any more block. I think is enough to keep us alive. Yes, it is. Let's go ahead and. Doesn't actually do any damage. Anything wouldn't do any damage because he's got this metallicize up, but it means my Thunderstruck's going to be better each time. That is relevant. Least vulnerables going off this turn, so we are taking less damage, which is good. Okay. We're not taking any damage this time. I'm going to go ahead and keep my setup a little bit. So the way Metallicize works, the more attack damage you do, it reduces the amount it generates. So that's a real incentive to kind of keep breaking through for lots of little bits. which now we've got our rig up and going, be more likely to have. Here, on a block. Okay, we're gonna get. So we definitely turned the corner in this fight, but we are in trouble. Losing those 16 HP was a real bummer with that random kind of question mark event. Probably in a bit of trouble right now. Can we kill him? 22. We should kill this guy. Kill him many times over. Right. It'd be kind of good. We are channeling a lot, but I'm actually more concerned about getting block cards at the moment, so I'm not. So if we survive this on 5 HP, that's going to be something, and then we can at least go up this way. This is going to be the first real test of this deck, and this guy's quite nasty. And we didn't draw any block, so we are 100% dead. Okay. I mean, I'll let you see it, because some of you who haven't seen how this works. We get stabbed up by a big guy coming from a book. So I kind of called it a little bit with that particular deck archetype. If you don't have the block early, it can be too punishing to set up your rig. But I actually I really enjoy it. I really enjoy that kind of deck because you feel like you're playing around with the orb stuff going on with the defect. We're going to jump right back in with the defect. And if we end up going that way again with the power deck, I'm not suggesting we should. But if we do, the one decision point I think back to is that time where I could have taken the boot sequence, which always gives you 10 block in the start of at the start of the game, start of the fight, and how useful I said that was. It really is. So we can obtain a random colorless uncommon card. They're often quite strong. 100 gold is relatively good, gives you a lot of choice with that first merchant hit. I can lose 99 gold to gain 2 random colorless cards. They can be common, uncommon, or rare. I never like losing your starting relic with the defect because this is so important. So I think I'm just going to I'm going to wuss out. I'm not going to do this, and I'm going to take the middle ground of taking the uncommon card. Game 1 artifact exhaust is not the most exciting card, but it means we are certainly free to do whatever we like right now. I'm going to take this route because we've got the choice here. If we're feeling like totally fine, we'll go for an elite, but if we're not, we struggle. Onto the fire. So unlike last time, I actually have to fight these guys because first time round they were all at 1 HP. So instead, I'm just going to go ahead and actually have to fight them. This guy's really interesting from a design point of view. A friend of mine was talking about it, that because he keeps getting stronger very early on, it kind of teaches the player that not to just try and turtle up. Sometimes against this guy, it is definitely better to be aggressive than defensive. I mean, sometimes you just have to play what the cards give you, but when you've got an option, I like getting aggressive with those guys because they get stronger over time, whereas your deck doesn't really get any stronger. I like fusion. For every plasma you have available, you gain an energy. More energy is more cards to play. So we're gonna just take that right from the bat. It's like quite a stiff investment to start with. You have to pay 2 energy, but every time you get them back. Yeah, I'm going to upgrade 2 cards. It would have been nice if that had been the plasma upgraded, but just having 2 basic cards upgraded is pretty sweet as well. About the end of your turn getting 1 week. I've got... No. I often take that choice, but I think with the defects, playing the longer game, I think those kinds of things are problematic, and I don't have a lot of gold for the merchant in terms of removing cards, so I'm going to take the wussy way out on that one. And have a shot of killing him at the end of turn, which we do, which is nice. I think this game's really interesting for the very many ways it gives you to like run percentages. Like I could have expected not to have to block that one, so lots of interesting things going on here. And that's Channel of Plasma. I'm going to take 2 damage here, but should be able to deal with this guy without taking any more damage. Now that we've got energy block. I could have gained and should have gained that artifact. I don't know. I need to get used to playing with that panacea. I don't tend to pick that card, so it's not something I get very often in my decks. W energy with plasma cards is kind of interesting, but I would need to be drawing a lot of cards for this double energy. I've yet to play a double energy deck. Trying to think of what that would necessarily look like. It's probably quite good in the power deck that I just played. But we're a little early to go that way. I don't think it's a very good card early on. Kind of interesting with fusion, obviously, because you're generating more energy. But we don't have the payoff yet. I mean, Steam Barrier is just kind of an interesting card. It gets worse over time, but it's a very good, you know... I would still play a card that gave me 5 block for 0, 4 block for 0 is fine. When when you're playing it for the 4th or 5th time is when it becomes like, this isn't really a card anymore. But I actually really like Steam Barrier early on. 52 HP with prospect of that there as well, but it's... How are we feeling then? Feeling spicy? We do have to deal with an elite there, but we have quite a few potential rest breaks between. I think we're going to give it a try. I think fusion is doing what I want it to in this particular deck. We might be we're probably not playing fusion at this point. Dropping this. Pick a turtle up. Sounds a little easier. We stand a reasonable chance of killing this little grub next turn. Yeah, that's more than enough. We're full on potions, so it's worth remembering that so that you can potentially pick out another one. Yeah, I think in for a penny. I'm kind of interested. What have we got so far? We got fusion, which is kind of not great for the deck I'm about to propose. But with 2 sting barriers and a panacea in the deck, I'm kind of interested in playing out the 0 cost deck. There's a card in Defect that does damage and lets you draw 3 cards, and you get to keep them if they cost 0. So I like that idea. I don't make that deck very often, but I think it could be quite... Especially with a start like this. So we're going to give it a try. I mean, that's the thing about this kind of game. If you haven't played Slay the Spire or a game like it, if you're not really into your card games, maybe... If you're not, then this probably isn't for you and you probably stop watching anyway. But if you are, this is what the Slay the Spire game does so well. It just gives you so many different deck options, different ways to play the game. that is super addictive, or at least I find it so, because there's always that, you know, the idea of the possible, right? Like what's potentially possible with different builds, different approaches. So now already this plasma card is like feeling really expensive to me. I want to play other cards. I want to play many other cards. It's a real strong investment for some decks, but for me it just feels like I should have probably run some maths. That's right, we're going to drink this, and we're going to take this, and we're going to kill this guy, and we probably should have taken the Doom one because it's much better. I often forget with those potions they are free, and that is a mistake. Much better. But these guys aren't too bad, right? That's a lot of defending. Unfortunately, for a turn we didn't really need it, but there we go. And we'll kill this, or at least start damaging it. Once you get one of these knocked out, I think these guys are much more manageable. Obviously, like getting all these dazed is a bummer, but once you get a rig going, it's not the end of the world. We certainly did better with that in the last build with all those channeling spells, but this isn't too bad. I think I want to zap first, and then I want to dual cast this, keep the damage rolling. Take a little bit more this way, but I think that's okay. Overall, it's going to be better to take less damage over the course of the whole fight. Okay, we are going to deal with this guy, put up another steam barrier, wail on this guy. Taking 2 extra damage, 2 damage is not the end of the world. It does all add up. Unlike the Ironclad, obviously I'm not ending the round by healing. It's one of the real strengths of that guy. Okay, let's see what we get relic-wise. Meat on the bone. I've been talking about healing. That's pretty powerful. Okay, so deal 10 damage, put or 0 cast from your desk up all into your hand. Yeah, we are definitely taking that. Fission is great. Gains lots of stuff, but All for One is like, we are doing the 0 cost deck now. That is what we're picking up every card that lets us have 0 cost. Okay, these guys are annoying. But with our 0 cost deck, quite a lot of things going on. We've got 9 here, which is not quite enough to kill anyone. Definitely. And Fusion is just feeling like it's way too expensive for our deck. We might kill him if we get lucky with a strike. Oh, we did! Very nice. That means we're not going to take any damage. I wasn't going to wail on this guy yet, and he's going to be the last we kill because he gets strength for every time you attack him. So barrier, which much for us yet for our All for One. Or strike. And hope again that we take. Oh man, that never lucky. It's been a bit lucky this fight. Steam barrier. Go. So we definitely dealt with these like smaller guys much better this time than we did with the last rig. A bit more aggressive without all the without all the power cards. So yeah, I'm just going to take everything that's 0 cost. That's what we're doing right now. Going to rest up. Again, I'd love to smith, but I'm actually really excited about the 0 cost deck right now. I don't want... Yeah. I think yeah, no, I'd like to go to this merchant. So we're going to go this route. It might be the... Technically, that's... 2 artifacts, that's fine. Does this make this any cheaper? No, it just... Anyway, ooh, okay. Like, if we fusion, then maybe? But actually making these guys cost 0 is so much better now that I've got all 1. So I'm going to make Zap cost 0. And we're going to look to upgrade those both. Like, again, this is a deck that's kind of trying to maximize the number of 0 cost cards in the deck. I should try and maybe merchant out fusion because it's not good. I don't really want a dual cast. What have we got going on here? Strength and weakness. This isn't affected by weak. Yeah, I don't think I want to do that. I think over the length of this, I think kind of having an orb, because I'm not channeling a lot of orb compared to the others, he says, right now. Drawing 2 channel cards. Tap. Fusion's going to pain me. I think it's the right thing to do. But it means we take quite a lot of damage early on. But it means we're basically going to be able to play our entire hands. I mean, this all for 1 is just so ridiculous right now. Look at that. That's bonkers, right? Like, I am happy with that. Okay. Do I need any more? But I do need the more. Well, yeah, we're just going to play both. Okay, that was a turn. I'm quite happy how that kind of played out, so let's hope the awful one plays out the whole time through. Pretty rad. Unfortunately, we've got all these defenders. He's not attacking. So I am. It's not the worst thing to do. There are relics that, you know, if you play 3 skills, you get this. If you play 3 attacks, you get that. And it kind of can be easy to forget that they're there and get out of the habit of doing that. So can we kill him? We're at 9, 17, 22, 28, just shy. If I channel the lightning though, no, because it's a plasma at the front. Don't get any extra damage. We get 20, 28, 30. That should kill him. Okay, done my math wrong. I'll do it the sensible way around. Put me one side, so that's fine. So yeah, we're channeling 9 here, but just in case, should be fine. Yes! Ooh, 10th attack deals double damage, that's not the worst. We're going to be playing lots of... Ooh, channel 1 frost. Yeah. Again, it doesn't actually come back with our 0 cost stuff, but, you know, it's a 0 cost card. 0 cost card. 0 cost card. 0 cost card. What is it? Right. Start each combat with 10 block. Not bad. Gain thing every 3 turns. Don't desperately need this. Unplayable status cards can now be played. Yeah, that's fine. But Finesse seems the nuts for my deck. Violence, put 3 random attacks from your draw pile into your hand. Could be very good if we get enough attacks that cost 0. Right, so that's kind of tempted to up 100, 180. We can't get all of them. You can get these 2 colorless ones. Leave a card from my. That plasma is getting more and more. But this is just a sign. Like, it's hard to find this many colorless 0-cost cards. Just gonna find some of those sometimes. This. I only have 1 0-cost attack. Violence isn't that strong. Finesse. Barrier, and then we're gonna remove fusion. Just got too. It's just clogging up my hand. I've got too many 0-costers to be good. Okay. It's just really weird, like ending with 0-cost cards in your hand that you don't want to play, but those guys you just don't want to play if you don't have to. Yep, I could geocast, but I'm more interested in just not taking extra damage at this point. I also have 3 potions, so it's worth bearing in mind that if I drops a potion, I don't get to play it. So. Wow, we can just like go off this turn. Pull back. Oh yeah, loving this. So it's exhausted, but it is pretty legit. 0-cost card. I might go ahead and play users at this point because I think 23 have a lot to get dexterity for the rest of the fight. I think that's probably pretty strong. Pretty much covers. And yeah, we're going to be evoking enough. I've realised that now, that I'm not that worried about doing that early. Zap at 0 is just... a lot of defense, fortunately. And these guys aren't actually attacking. Tangle can't play attacks. Fine. We drew a bunch of them, but a whole bunch of them. We've played weak on them there, but okay, so we're coming up to the first boss fight, which I think my deck's okay. I would have liked a little bit of extra spice. 16, 25, yes. Okay, cool. Okay, something a little extra. A card from your discard pile into your hand. I don't want to do when you shoot them, but I don't want lightning. I mean, this is a strong power, but I'm gonna skip those. Do we need to rest before? Would kind of like 39 health, risky. That guy's kind of annoying too. Dual cast being 0 would be pretty. I think I'm enjoying this deck too much to lose at the first boss, so we're gonna go ahead and rest. Okay, so it's not ethereal, which is the one that goes away, so I don't have to play this time, which is good because I like basically have nothing to do right now. So we're just going to go ahead here. We'll load up the strength. Doesn't do anything in this kind of load up that, and then we're just going to end our turn, I guess. Bit of a shame. You want this particular guy. You want a very aggressive start, because if you do 21 damage, he goes into a different mode. So can we do that? We can certainly do a lot of blocking. We all for one. I think it's probably what we have to do, because otherwise we're not changing his. Team barrier. I'm going to boot secret. Exhaust it, which is okay. Want to take less damage. Push him towards his. I think 15 stings. I think 11 sting. It's all stinging. So I think we're just gonna make sure we can definitely push him next turn. Okay, I like the fact that we're gonna add some vulnerabilities to him. So we'll continue to add more one. I think she's buffing, so we're not going to steam barrier. Channel. I'm going to play all our cards basically, because they all cost 0. Does mean we're potentially going to take some damage because of thorns? Horns? He doesn't have horns. I guess the one downside about all for one is that our steam barriers are going to get worse very quickly, but ooh, is this pen nibbing? That's nice. That's nice. I'm gonna rack up the vulnerables. Steam barriers going on. Probably are gonna go ahead and defend. It's nice racking up the vulnerables, and it'll help push this 40 quite nicely. We are getting worse as each of our steam barriers gets weaker. Goes down to. I don't think we can do 25 damage. Well, definitely 5 damage. Oh, we did. How did I miss that? The vulnerable, I think. But defend. Vulnerable. Where we should. Worth it. doing damage while he's got vulnerable up is pretty backs. Barrier. Light chill busting. And that all 8. I'm gonna wait. See what gonna deal 2 damage to me. It's mildly annoying. I think we're gonna defend first. Okay, these are on 4 and 3. Kind of do want to zap. Gives me all the block I need, but then I can also beam down. And then drop the... One is fine. What we need is the other, like, apply weak, the eye, go for the eye one. That's really strong. I think we can kill him. Dude. Nice. Ooh, free spells, right. Shuffle all your cards into your draw pile. Wow, okay, that seems really good. Put 1 card from your draw pile into your hand. Exhaust. That's pretty good with all for 1, but I think reboot is just going to be essentially a draw for my deck. Choose and add 5 cards to my deck. Probably not. Potion or Black Star, right. Additional relics from elite enemies, so we're going to be looking to try and not go crazy, but maybe pick out a few elite enemies. Definitely a few bosses that can put a wrinkle in kind of deck's approach. Okay, if we're ballsy and we manage it, there's 3 elites this way. I'm going to go up here past this merchant, elite, 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 which is a lot of relics. I think we will, but we're going to give it a shot. Okay, I don't know if I need to boot sequence. See that in I think so. Actually, get 3 attacks in, which is kind of annoying. Yeah, because I think we can manage maybe to avoid boot sequence. Barrier. Okay, let's go first because he's buffing. So what are we at? We're going to be taking 10. Yeah, we can steam barrier, not have to boot sequence. Maybe 1's probably fine, and then would have been great to get an extra attack there. Alas, we did not. I think we're not taking too much damage. Yeah, just 4. Might have been able to get away with taking no damage there if we'd have played slightly differently. Having to boot secret. Oh, how much are we taking there? 10, 12. Oh, we're taking way too much damage on this one. I possibly should have used my weak potion. Probably. Scanning through rosters. They didn't. Kill that. Reasonable. 9. 11, which is enough. We don't need the steam barriers. Quite like that chill card. I haven't played it very much. Sell them down. He's dead anyway, Dave. Of course he's dead. Right, we want a week. Boo. I don't want any of these. We're not playing powers. Don't really want that. Right. We want the go for the eye. That's what we want. Okay. Guys are not. We are boot sequencing for sure. Bursting one guy down. Also for sure. I don't want to take any, which I don't have to take. Probably another fight. I should have strength potions. These guys are really annoying. Get away with all your gold. In fact, yeah. Ooh, that's a shame. Been better to kill the guy by a long way. 10 damage, in fact. Next turn we will definitely kill this guy. Can't risk. Nib is nice. Do anything. Down to 20, but he's off next time, so how much? 11, so we need to do 31 damage in a turn. Actually, not that far off. Which is kind of crazy. We really need to hit him with vulnerable first, which is a bit of a shame. 4-4. How many you get? Cast. As long as I get back. He did! Yay! That's good. Okay. I'll get all up. Back. Claw, that's what we want. We want the claws. We want all the claws, please. Oh yeah, these guys. Yeah, let's read. And lose a bunch of HP and get a relic. At the end of your turn, you may shuffle one of three cards, random cards into draw pile. Okay. Guess it's you may. Kind of annoying for our deck, but draw 3 cards, exhaust. Ooh. They're not great. Thing I want. Draw 3 cards is fine. Oh, I can't afford it. Reduce 2-1. Terrible. Right, so are we... So 3 steam barriers in there. Basically. Not a great merchant. Okay, this tag team can be frustrating. You need to burst. She's a healer, he's a tank, like your classic MMO setup. You need to boot sequence, but she's hit me for 10, for 8, which is Or strike. Try to deal with the healer first, but you can never be sure. Oh yeah. I don't hate multicast. Kind of like a zero coster. Oh, good in the zero cost. So he buffs her. Like she's gonna heal. These guys are annoying. Because like I don't want to hit into this 15, but she's basically buff the heal. Can't remember. I think that's the heal 16. You have to be able to do 16. Anyway, yeah, let's get back. Gain. I'm just gonna play a hand. I'm peeing and whoring. What we've got. This is what we're gonna do. I don't hate skim in this deck. Yeah, healing 16 on both of them is frustrating. Guess if we can keep her doing that. What have we got here? Weak. I'd like to keep. Oh, we Steam barrier. That's enough for this. And yeah, it's done most damage we can. Draws me cards. Not a massive fan of diluting the deck, but order lull that way around. If we didn't done that the right way around, we probably would have killed this trick. We're gonna do a reboot because I think beam set. That's what we needed. We are now cooking on gas. Don't want to channel that, do I? Defragment's not the one. So this guy's much less problematic. He starts hitting harder, but he's much less problematic when you have I think I'm gonna right. Boot sequence, yeah. Let's take a boot sequence. Good awful one. What's not to love? I'm gonna skip those cards. You can huff and you can puff, buddy, but you are just dead. Right, FTLs. Great for our deck. 39, you know what? I'm gonna risk it. I'm gonna risk it for a biscuit. And we're going to see how we do it. Guys. Fun. Oh, fuck. Reboot. We have a great first opening hand. Right, yeah, okay. Killing this little gremlin dude first. Did 1822. We had bearing. Don't want any of these. So we don't have any potions in this elite, which is a bit scary. Just so brutal. So brutal. 500. Lose 2 damage. He's gonna get some stuff back, but look at this. So he's going to get, this is what he does, he rallies back. So I could have left one out and that rally wouldn't have been strong, but guys just, they're not doing. Or I'm more interested. Hurry up. Vulnerable. You still killed him. Yeah, you penned. Eight auto shields. You're obviously needing a lot of block because of what this guy. So what's he doing? 18, 27, 34. Raid. Melt is kind of strong. Gonna go with that. So if he's rallying, there's no point killing this guy. So we're just going to offload onto him. Scrape. That's the kind of other build around me, as well as all for one. All bar one. That's a chain of restaurants. Oh, you can go up to 3. I forget that. Right. This could be interesting. Block a ton. And then we can find it. Seeking that all bar one. All for one. Alright, this guy's gonna stay. He's only at 42 though, so if we focus heavily on him. Get back. This is just like poetry in my point. Bar 1. I could have done so much more. I could have done so much. I could have been a contender. Sundial, wow, yeah, that's ridiculous. When we're 70 zeros, but version, yeah. It's gonna be tough going for another one now. Ooh, okay. This is interesting. We lose our strikes. 4 cards, one of which is... I love these vampires. 23 maximum HP. Yeah, we're doing it. We're doing it. Because they are just so good. In which case, I'm going to go for these guys. Because we have like a strong heal incentive now with our strikes. Beam cell, Dave. Beam cell. I'll end our turn without block. I'm way too much. Barriers. That wound's going to be annoying, but I'm doing a lot of damage as well. Like my bites. Barrier. We can survive long enough to kill one of these guys. I think we're okay. Gonna be tight though. That vulnerable is gonna be a real sting. Okay. But at least he's not attacking. Not the right time. Fragment. Reboot it. Don't. Okay, so I'm not going to waste damage on him then. Oh, we're only just alive. Take him. Oh, I didn't even kill him. That's annoying. Whatever this is. Oh, entangle. That's a disaster. Oh man, got very unlucky. Yeah, I think we have to vision. Hope. Fission was probably not the right call. We're gonna die. Well, it was probably wrapping up anyway. We could have 20. No, we would have died anyway. If we'd have managed to kill the other guy, those two would have still got us. That entangle not hitting was brutal. I really enjoyed that deck. I've really enjoyed playing the Defect. I'm gonna bow out now and say next week we are back with Sean and me streaming Stellaris, I believe. We are so close to finishing Stellaris. So I hope you've enjoyed this second look at Slay the Spire. Really encourage you guys to check it out if you are interested in kind of roguelike deck builders. I am absolutely obsessed with this kind of game. I think it's brilliant. It's totally my jam. So hope you've enjoyed watching. Check us out at pillbug.zone on Twitter, on Facebook, on all the usual sites. Yeah, see you guys next week.